all my classes, and I'll post them later. So it also helps you to go back and if you want to rewatch it and do all that stuff, answer questions. So I want to start. Let's go over the syllabus real quick. I just want to make sure that we have this down and have everything set. Usually I record a nice little video, but I decided not to this time. So can you guys all see this? Syllabus, perfect. It's kind of my little catchy trademark here, my little rooster. It's for my golf tournament, or it's for the RSM golf tournament. I also kind of adapted it myself. So let's see. Standard stuff off the top. By the time you leave this class, and the way I teach my summer classes is there's a lot of content to go over, and you hear that in every class. But essentially, I want to give you guys the basics that you will need when you leave. If we took this over a 16-week, I try and get as similar to a 16-week class as we can. But in all reality, it's only 4 weeks. So I'm not a miracle worker. I can't do a whole lot of things. But we're going to try and do this. And you'll understand these concepts. And when people talk about it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's what that is. And be able to talk to it more. And the great part, too, if there's ever something that you have a question about, even after this class is done, my office, we're allowed to be back in our offices. My office is in AOC2, right around the way. Stop in and ask me. I have students who come in a year after and be like, Dr. What do you think about this? Like, why'd they do this? Or I'm trying to get a loan and I can't get this. I'm like, okay, we'll talk through it. I have no problem doing that. I actually really enjoy that. So there's your outcomes. I go over, we teach this on Zoom, yada, yada, yada. I'm usually really, really quick about 2 things, grading and email. So if your stuff is due by, what did I say up here? By Saturday at 11:55 is when everything is due throughout the week, with the exception of your quiz on the final week, because that'll be on Wednesday because you have a final exam. So I'm usually really quick. I'll have it graded within a day, if not 2. And emails, if you email me, usually I will get back to you within an hour, 2 hours tops. Usually because I'm sitting here doing homework or something else on my computer. So if it pops in, I'll respond. And I have no problem if there's questions. If you can't figure out a concept or want to talk through it, we can hop back on Zoom, and I'm more than happy to do that. So attendance, missed assignments. I don't accept late assignments at all that way. Any assignments that have to be written have to be submitted to Moodle via PDF. The point being for that, it makes it easier for me to grade and get grades back quicker to you guys and feedback, because it automatically pops up in Moodle for me, as opposed to a Word document that I have to download down. And yeah, so PDFs only. How are the grades? You have 4 quizzes, 4 weekly reflections. Your Excel activities, I posted the videos for those. And how many of y'all have used Excel before or are comfortable using Microsoft Excel?
I've only used it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used it a few times.
Okay. So I walk through the videos and what you're required to do for that week. And the video goes through step-by-step process of how to do it and how to become familiar as you're going through. And each week builds on the next one. All right. So, and your Excel activities I'm not grading them for, essentially it's a completion type thing. I'm not grading for accuracy. I want you guys to get comfortable with putting in formulas, using Excel, at least the basics of it, so that when you're done with this class and you go on to others, like my event management class or our admin class later on, where you're doing other things, we're like, oh, use Excel, and students don't go, oh, how do I use, what's Excel? How do I use Excel? How do I put a formula in? I don't know what a formula is. So I walk through that with you inside Excel. Then participation, really just showing up, having fun. We try and make it a good time. And then some grading.
Well, I had a quick question actually about one of those. So
Absolutely.
for the reflections,
Hmm.
Um, are we using that one like the textbook document that's like attached right above to write that reflection?
So your weekly reflections are your personal reactions, thoughts on what we covered that week. So this week it's a sport finance overview. So you should read, and reading that chapter or that attachment there is
Hmm.
critical to your success on the quizzes.
Okay.
But also, I'm not going to go over, and you'll see throughout when I start going through the slides, I don't go over the book. The way that I teach my classes is I expect that you have read before you get to class. And if you have for this week, it's okay. But go back and read it afterwards, because I will pick out topics in there that I feel are critical based off my own personal experience in the industry, talking to industry folks that I want to drive home and nail with you guys. So I might not hit every little thing that's in the book. I don't go through and reread the book to you. I hated and still hate that as a student. So I don't do it to you.
Okay.
Um, that's just mine. So the weekly reflection. So this week's the overview. There's a lot of things going on in the sports industry on a daily basis, and especially dealing with money and finance right now. Two of you are athletes at the school. There's a lot of things that are going on with finance, COVID, everything else that can impact your lives as athletes. So this class will help you do that and help you realize really the money that drives it. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yep. Let's see, and then just the schedule, brief schedule there. We'll go through overview this week. Next week is time value of money. So that inventory management, we've all experienced that over the past 3-4 months. And that the Excel activities, don't necessarily worry about those titles. I made the syllabus 2 months ago, and I updated it as I wanted to go through more of a building block structure. What we want to do, okay? Any questions on the syllabus at all? Anything else? Okay, well, let's pull up these slides. So, and at any point, if you have questions, please chime in. So, what do you think when you think of sport finance? What was your initial thoughts when you thought about this class?
Money with sports.
Money in sports. Okay. What else? Does this class scare you?
How to manage money.
Okay. How to manage money. Usually, this class scares all the students. I'm trying to counter that. I want this to be fun. So, with that, my goal in every class that I teach is to take you from being a consumer of sport or recreation, just sport is my catch-all, consumer of sport, to being a manager and someone who can utilize it, right? Think and stop thinking about it as an entertainment aspect or your nightly entertainment or daily entertainment, to one of how can I make money doing this? How can I use sport as a business tool to make money, right? I do this in our event management class that you guys have. How do I take a bowling tournament that's recreation for people and turn that into making money? What's my end goal? Every charity golf tournament that you see that's on TV, they're doing it to make money. So how do we go about doing that? What does this whole entire sports industry look like overall? That's what I'm really getting to. So when we think growth, right, we have an overall increased interest really from a lot of different segments, right? What is the most common segment of the sports industry? Or when we think sports, who do we think of that normally watches and consumes sports? You want to take a guess? Do more guys or girls watch sports?
Probably guys.
Guys, right?
Yeah.
Let's just take the NFL. Majority of those who watch the NFL, or the NFL thought for the longest time, the people who watched it were guys. And then the NFL goes, wait a minute, there's women that are watching this too. So you know what they did? They got when 2011, when they switched over from Reebok to Nike for all the apparel on the field, they told Nike, I think Nike influenced this too, and says, you know what, we're going to create a women's line of clothing for your teams. And some people are like, why? And well, because women need apparel too. So you're essentially cutting yourself off from half of the market to sell stuff to. But there is significantly more interest. And you see this, and you've seen this over the years on, let's just say, ESPN, when there's been more female talent that has been on air, right? It's no longer just guys talking to guys. And maybe Hannah, if you want to help me out here a little bit with this, would you rather have a guy tell you about sports or a woman tell you about sports on TV? What do you think?
Women. I mean, I think women, can do just as much as men can do now. They're just showing that now. Throughout the years, you see that they're being more involved and getting asked and interviewed more. So
Absolutely. And it's transitioning that from being and let's just say, broadcasting an NFL football game. There's still a lot of, let's just say, resistance to having a woman be the primary play-by-play commentator. Beth Mullins is a really good one, but is Beth Mullins calling games for the NFL on a regular basis? No. Amazon did it. If you watch Thursday Night Football, there's an all-women. You can watch it on Amazon, and you can actually go for a women broadcasters, which is great. So there's a lot more interest from diverse markets that are coming into sport that has developed in sport. And we've seen UFC. The idea of having women fight in UFC originally was not really that popular, right? Because not a lot of guys want to tune in to watch two women fight. Then all of a sudden they figured out that Ronda Rousey's kind of a beast and that she can attract people in. And then others, you have, I don't even know the other ones on there now, but that pulls a lot of interest in. So we're opening up and seeing how sport can play into this as society has changed or is changing, being more open to it. The industry's changing. Me in sport finance, I go, okay, more markets mean more money. How can I capitalize on that ability? Increase, and we have new increased offerings. Did anybody watch the NASCAR esports when it was on?
I
No?
didn't.
You didn't? Man, you missed some fun stuff. It was great. The fact that Denny Hamlin's little daughter turned off his screens when he was leading a race was great, and then he wrecked. But it brought about new ways that leagues and people can make money. Because who would have thought, I don't know, who would have thought that millions of people would tune in to watch NASCAR drivers race virtually at tracks? Nobody, right? I mean, some maybe, sure, but then they did it, and part of it was out of necessity because Fox needed to broadcast something, and then they said, hey, let's do this, and all the drivers chipped in, and it was really neat, to the point that I think NASCAR will probably do that moving forward. You could have a Wednesday night drivers matchup where you could host this, where they're going to go race the track, where they're going to be. I think that would draw people in. That would be content they could have, because you could have access, you could talk to the drivers, and it could be a unique process. The drivers want practice. Well, go do a mini race, 100-lap race or something. It would take for them maybe an hour where they can go do that. And that was forced by the COVID pandemic. Corporate sponsorships, and I'm talking about NASCAR again here. NASCAR itself is struggling because they used to have a lot of Fortune 500 companies. Fortune 500 is the stock market. Fortune's ratings of the top 500 companies in the country. had a lot of sponsorship deals with NASCAR and teams. As NASCAR, you want those because that means that you have access to the premier markets that you want to come watch. And usually the market that we want to capture is those between 18 and 40. Because those are the ones where your preferences aren't fully set. You're still developing them. Plus, you're starting families, doing other things. So you need stuff. So, hey, we can market to you. And that's a great way to do it. NASCAR itself lost those, but now maybe they can pull that back. And how can they do that? I don't know. That's still a question. Could sports gambling be a way to get people back into it? Increased coverage of sporting events on TV. I am a loyal subscriber to ESPN Plus. I paid my $50 for the year. I get ESPN Plus. It's great during college football season because I can watch pretty much any game I want to. From any of my schools that I attended, I can watch a New Mexico game. I can watch a Citadel game. I can watch USF. I can watch Coastal. So that increases viewership across the board, but that also increases the amount of money that's coming into college athletic departments. That's going into other places where this is more seen and more visible, right? You guys, we play a football game or baseball, the Sun Belt's not just going out there and playing games and putting on ESPN for free. So that money is coming in and it gets funneled back in. That's money. To the tune of increased sports coverage, the Big Ten, how much money do you think the Big Ten schools make annually from their media rights deal? Take a guess.
I don't even know.
Millions. I don't know though.
Probably a lot.
$50 million a year.
Wow.
Essentially double Coastal's athletic budget. They make alone. If I'm the athletic director at Ohio State, forget that. I'm the athletic director at I don't know, Purdue. I'm not really good at anything. But you know what? I put my feet up every day on the desk and I go, hey, I got $50 million. That's more than my competitors. I got that. I know it's coming to me. Why? Because Ohio State's good, Penn State's good. All they want to be on TV, so we got a great deal. And I get the money from that. So it gets that increased exposure. And it's a great thing. But also there's added pressures that come with that. So and we add to the influence of technology here, right? PGA Tour, thanks to COVID, got all their players Whoop. I don't know if anyone saw the story. Whoop is like a really fancy Fitbit. I'm jealous of it. But they got it because they actually picked up on a golfer's respiratory rate was increased above where it normally was. And that was a predictor that he actually tested positive for COVID. So the PGA Tour goes, you know what? Everybody, we're getting y'all Whoops. Now, if you watch a tour, the players will have them on, caddies have them on for that. But also, it's a really fancy Fitbit is really what it is. But from a sport industry side, now more people are being fitness and health conscious with it. Fitbit, same thing. I just saw on the news today that somebody isn't allowing or agreed not to use Fitbit data from their athletes to sell on things. This stuff is very, very costly, right? Think about it as as sports betting is growing across the United States, the ability to access athletes' individual biometric data throughout a week. Would you want to know that if you're placing a bet on them? I would. The NFL signed a deal with Sleep Number. You all know the Sleep Number beds where you can adjust the softness and all that. The NFL signed a deal with Sleep Number. Well, for an athlete, if they want to be a partner with Sleep Number as part of the NFL deal and get a free bed in their house, they have to sign away their rights that the NFL can track their sleep data, because the bed actually tracks your sleep data. So as a team, I'd like to know that. But this increase in technology from a consumer side is really great. My dad and sister both have, well, my dad wears a Fitbit on his right arm and his Apple Watch on his left arm. Then he compares how many steps are across both. Like, that's just a interesting way. But that's, if you think about it, that's about what, $1,000 on one arm and what, $300 on the other arm, or $150 on another arm. So there's a lot of money to be made there, not just in the hardware that people are wearing, but the data and software that people bring in. And last but not least, a number of magazines, newspapers, journals, blogs. I put Barstool Sports there. That has shot up. That's a company that's valued has increased. Well, they just got acquired or bought more by Penn National in February. Their value shot up 400%. So there's a lot of media content that's out there. I don't know if anybody follows, on Twitter. If you follow people on Twitter, essentially you're following blogs, people's micro blogs on, what's going on in the sports industry, what's going on in fantasy sports, all these different things, all that information that's there. That ability to access that has provided careers for people, has provided a lot of things. So the industry is rapidly growing that way. That sport is a unique aspect of society, and we've seen this, right? We've seen this with COVID. The reason why, everything kind of shut down was Rudy Gobert. I'm going to blame Rudy, and we can blame Rudy. Sport has this unique spot where when it doesn't exist, it's kind of like something's missing out of society. We're all missing something, right? That's why NASCAR took advantage of it. Think about UFC. As soon as UFC could get back to fighting, they did. And people tune in. And people actually like it more without fans there a little bit because of the different experience. Now we have Fight Island and we have everything else. The WWE never stopped, but I don't really consider that sport. So we're going to cast them aside. That's just some made up stuff. No offense if you like it, but it's entertainment. But so sport is very unique. It drives at the heart of society and what's there. A lot of companies market their products through sport to get people's attention. I've seen billboards now, and I like Jersey Mike sandwiches. But now there's billboards with what's his name? Aaron Judge on them. Instead of getting it Mike's Way, you can get it Aaron's Way now because Aaron's a sponsor or a partner with him to get sandwiches made his way. So it drives a unique way, and as sports integrate back in, I feel society will become more normal. We'll see some normalcy that occurs in society. And then really, when you think financial management, there's a lot of public subsidy of sport facilities, right? Everywhere you go, pretty much any stadium you play in, there's some sort of public subsidy that occurs with it, right? Except even, but it might not be the building of it. So we think Los Angeles with the Rams and the Charger Stadium, that $2 billion thing that now costs $5 billion. Well, he didn't get the land for free, but he got the land for a really cheap discount in Inglewood to build it. So there's some public subsidy there. The Raiders Stadium in Vegas, that was subsidized $750 million in state dollars to build that stadium. So there's that. Television rating and broadcast fees, it continues to go up. Part of the reason, what the NFL do, what the NFL agreed to in their latest collective bargaining agreement. Did you guys see that? The games? What they agreed to? Connor, you didn't see it?
No, I didn't.
Okay. They agreed to, I think it was cut away 2 preseason games. I think it was to add a game and try and get to 18-game season or 17-game season and then expand the playoffs. That was all done to increase broadcast fees, right? Why people care on a weekly basis their favorite team, but more people tune in to watch the playoffs. So if they can expand the playoffs, more people are going to tune in to watch. To the tune of usually on every weekend, their biggest games, your Sunday Night Football, your primetime, the Tony Romo Jim Nantz game, Is usually pulling about 15 million people to watch. Playoff games, you're looking 30, 40 million. So more people watching means more money, more people bringing it in. They command more for their product. Player salaries, the next one. What's going on with Dak Prescott right now?
Aren't they negotiating a deal?
Trying to.
I'm not.
He signed his franchise tag tender where he's going to make $31 million this year. But how about Patrick Mahomes? Player salaries? His life is Patrick. I want to be Patrick Mahomes right now, and he's got money and security. So player salaries continue to go up, right? And I think that sports franchise values go up, right? Right now, the Mets are in the process of trying to sell their franchise. Who's trying to buy the Mets? Have you seen this one? None other than Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez. Jenny from the block is trying to get back to Queens. So, but to the tune of trying to purchase this for about $1 billion, or $1.5 billion. I think partly because A-Rod wants to outdo Derek Jeter, and he kicked Jeter out to Miami, and now he's going to buy back in New York. I mean, A-Rod doesn't want to run the team, but I think they want it so where baseball's there, but you can have a J-Lo concert out in center field twice a year at Citi Field, and people just show up. More people might show up for that than they'll show up for a Mets game, but that's just me, and they'll make money from it. So, but also there's the increased cost of attending sporting events, right? And we see this across the board. You used to be able to when I worked in Chicago for the Bears, one of the guys that I worked with, he's like, I used to go to Cubs games and it was like 10 cents to get an outfield seat. I'm like, yeah, it ain't 10 cents to get an outfield seat at a Cubs game anymore. Not if they won a World Series. But there's increased costs and from everything, right? We got to pay for these salaries of players. We have to pay for all these aspects. They're college sporting events. It's more expensive to go to. We don't realize that as students, but it's a lot more expensive. And let's take Coastal, for example. For my wife and I to go to a game, because we still have to buy tickets even as faculty, it's about $40 just in tickets to get in for us. And then if we want to buy anything else, so we're looking at maybe $60, $80. I flat out told somebody, I said, look, we can go to dinner. I can go mini golfing, where that gets pretty heated between my wife and I, and something else, and then we're having a great night. And then I can come home and watch the game on TV. I got a 65-inch TV for a reason. Like, not so it's just big, but it looks really good on Saturdays with football. So the cost of attending is a very important factor. When we think public subsidization of this, we think that the money coming in, a lot of the things for those advocates of using public dollars is we're going to revitalize urban neighborhoods. And this is what actually minor league baseball has tried to do. MLS has tried to do when they had stadiums, is take urban neighborhoods. We're going to build a stadium there. It's going to bring back the community. It's what Miami tried to do with their monstrosity, and that didn't quite work so well. So in creating new jobs, we're trying to bring money in. It's a big hot button issue in a lot of communities where it happens. And we have it here in Myrtle Beach, believe it or not. Grand Park, that's right, Market Common. That was all built with public dollars. And it really pays off every year when it's packed full of, 9-year-olds out there playing baseball and mom and dad and doing everything else, or soccer tournaments, or the old guys softball league, which that thing cracks me up every time. The guys that show up there in their baseball pants and jerseys and just want to mash softballs. But it's great. They go to the bars afterwards. They spend more money, so it actually benefits the economy. So, yeah. So here's a pressing question. What is more important to the NFL, spectators in stadiums or TV viewers? What do you guys think?
TV viewers.
Okay.
I want to say both, because, I mean, who wouldn't want people, there to support? But then again, the money flows both ways. So,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
that's hard.
Brian, what do you think?
I'd probably say like spectators in the stadium, because then you got to buy your seats, and then you could use they could buy like concessions, and then they could buy merchandise. So it's kind of like the rolling ball there.
Okay. So you guys all, the answer is sure, everything. But, and what you talk about, Brian, that's what we call per cap spend. You'll see that term in your Excel assignment. And per cap spend is when you come into the stadium, how much is each person really spending, or can I quantify that across the board? And we do. We take how much money was spent at the game that day, and then we divide it by the capacity that's there. There's my per cap spend. But with television, I argue that a little bit of the NFL, they want to make sure that they play games. And we see this right now, right? Everything we've heard about the NFL is we're going to play games. We're building this up. We're going to play. We're going to play. We're going to play. The NFL knows that they have to play because on TV, that's where everybody watches. They need that money to the tune of, I think it's about $6 billion that they make off broadcast fees every year from the league. So they need that. And then ticket sales also come into that and adds in. But sponsorships and TV revenue are one of the main drivers of the NFL. So, yes, the individual owners of the league care more about the butts and seats of their stadium because that's where they make money off of parking and concessions and everything else that goes with it. But from a whole, they need those TV rights and TV dollars to come in. Partly because when we look at this, and let's cast some disparaging rumors now. When you tune into CBS or Fox or ESPN, and let's say Monday Night Football, I believe ESPN pays, or Disney, ESPN, pays the NFL to the tune of $1.2 billion a year to broadcast Monday Night Football. And ESPN knows that that's going to pull in a lot of people. If they do it right, that should pull in about 25 to 30 million people watching every week. Right now, if it's the Jets against the Cardinals on Monday Night Football, probably not many people are going to tune in. But if you got the Cowboys and the team that plays in Washington, I don't know what to call them now, the team that plays in Washington playing, or the Giants and Cowboys playing, that's going to bring in a larger viewership number. How ESPN makes money is through commercial sales, right? So for Sunday Night Football, to buy a 30-second commercial spot on Sunday Night Football, a company is paying NBC $685,000 to pay for the commercial. That's well worth it for them because they're capturing the demographic they want to capture. Thursday Night Football goes down. So you see that's how they make their money back. So it's in their interest to buy these games. That $1.2 billion investment that ESPN is making to the NFL to broadcast their games, ESPN is looking to at least make back $1.2 billion through sponsorship dollars or media dollars or commercial money coming in. In 2018, 40 of the 50 most watched sports events were NFL games. So should tell you a lot right there. And then 8 of the 10 most watched events were NFL games as well. So people want to watch football. Case in point. People don't really want to watch the NBA. The next point here. In 1920 season, there's a decrease, 17% decrease on ESPN and 7% decrease on TNT. So there's not a lot of interest in the NBA. And we see them try to hype it up. It's a little bit cheaper for ESPN to access that, but it's not really producing those results that they want. So how can we do this? How can we get that return our investment. And when we talk about TV rights and broadcast fees, football is the main driver of a lot of this, to the point that I used to work and still have work with ESPN and their events, and I worked for a bowl game. We kicked off a Duke basketball game off of ESPN so that we could start our college football game. We took the basketball game to ESPN News, and we started the football game because we know that more people will tune in to watch a college football bowl game on the first weekend than will tune in to watch a basketball game. So there's that. Let's see. And then how do we, in this cable-sided stuff, there's always this increasing push for content, right? And we've seen this struggle go on, Disney and Hulu, right? That brings that partnership in. Disney is a majority owner of Hulu, which is great for if you have Hulu, like my wife and I do. Now you can get Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus for, I think it's $15 a month, or like we have buy separate, but I get a small discount. So that brings it brings this whole platform together. I'm trying to do it for cord cutters. I'm a cord cutter. I admit it. I like it. I like my Hulu Live TV. It's been great for the past year. And now you have NBC with one Peacock coming, and that's going to have a lot of golf content on it too. They own a lot of golf stuff. So this push for content is critical in what you're doing in driving this industry. So any questions? Okay. Franchise values and player salaries. Well, it's great to be a professional athlete nowadays. Usually, the most valuable franchises that exist are the Cowboys, the Lakers, the Dodgers, or the New York Yankees, however you want to view it. What do they all have in common? Where do they sit? What's that?
Popular cities.
Big cities, right? And big cities tend to have large TV markets and larger fan bases. The Cowboys have been around forever, and Jerry Jones has made it his notion to make the Dallas Cowboys America's team. It might be America's most hated team, but it's America's team, and that's what he tries to push, that star, make it visible. The Lakers, I mean, people pick them or hate them or love them, and then now they added LeBron a couple years ago. That just makes it even more of a American franchise, adds that value. The Dodgers add value because where they sit, and the Yankees, so it's almost the East Coast, West Coast push. And then player salaries, the goal is to always increase these. I think you're going to see changes in Major League Baseball with player salaries, especially with the salary cap. I think COVID has brought that to the forefront, and what they're pushing with that. In baseball, you don't have a salary cap. You pay a luxury tax if you overspend, but you don't have a set salary cap. So, yeah, Bryce Harper can get a really big deal, whether it's worth it or not, I don't know. All these other players can make that happen. In the NFL, the reason why the Cowboys are maybe a little slow on Dak Prescott is because you have to ask yourself, is that a value that I want to put on there? Is this value? Because I only have usually about $190 million every year to spend on my 53-man roster. How do I allocate that out across the board to make it competitive? And we see with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, Mahomes didn't get as much money as he probably could have, right? He struck where they are and taught his value is high. He could have got more money, but he decided that he goes, hey, I don't need to make the most, but spend the rest of this on building the team around me to make me successful, pull those other people in, almost what the New England Patriots did, and they've been successful for 20 years. So that's kind of the model of how you have to succeed in a salary cap. But the friction that goes against player salaries and that mindset is agents and the union, right? Agents obviously want their clients to make more money because as an agent, I make more money. So it's win-win for everybody. Unions want to make sure that their players or their members are increasing their annual whatever they're making on contracts, because that helps them out with all the others. If this top of the line player makes more, well, then the bottom of the pack player is going to make more, because that's going to drive everybody else's salaries up. It's just an economical factor. We've seen this happen before, where Alex Rodriguez, when he went from the Rangers, he wanted to go play for the Red Sox. He was willing to take a small pay cut to go pay for the Red Sox, or not ask for as much in that deal to go play for the Red Sox. A-Rod agreed to it. The Red Sox agreed to it. The players union did not agree to it, because it was going to potentially set a bad precedent for their members. So player salaries are a constant sticking point every single year. And then we talk about attending sports events. Let me pull up this fan cost index real quick. So let's see. Let me bring this over here. So what you have here is what we call a fan cost index. This was for the XFL of how much it costs to go to a game. And let's take a look at the NFL. So on average, it costs, oh no, they don't want to tell me. It costs for a family of 4 to attend an NFL football game. It costs $540 to attend one football game. It takes 4 tickets at $102. And then it takes in the price of a hot dog, everything else. Let's see if I pull this full report. Now they want you to be a member. These people, I swear. Okay, show me the report. They used to give you for free, but it breaks it down, and you see the natural increase over the years of how much it is to go to football games. As a fan, as a family, we talk about that in-stadium experience. I got to make sure that it's not outpricing my market, right? For a family of 4 to come, it's items in the pro shop when you go get them. It's hot dogs, it's sodas, it's beers. How much is the stuff costing me to bring my family to a game? And that's a large driver, because if I am a family of 4, then yeah, I'd love to go to a game. But if it's going to cost me on average $536 to go to a game, I don't think there's a lot of families who are just going to put down $536 to go to a football game in the NFL. But what can I do? I can save let's just say $500. I can go get food for $30 and drinks for $6, and I can watch it at home with my family on my 65-inch TV. So therein lies one of the issues of sports world, especially in a financial one. So are we increasing cost more than people are willing to pay? That drives it. Plus, when the TV product is superior to that of sometimes being in the game, that's something you have to really weigh too. So with that, any questions for me?
Not right now.
Okay. So that I look forward to. Does this time work good for everybody?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just we'll do this every week. Make sure you guys read that chapter before we start class. I purposely picked them so they're not too dense. We'll put it that way. If you don't understand all the concepts in them, don't worry. That's what coming here, ask questions. Yeah. So with that, anything else, I'll see you guys on next Wednesday. All right.
Sounds good.